Okay.
Let's do it.
I really have been.
I've been having a bit, yeah.
Oh, great. Bleach loop. AIDS loop.
It's real. I swear.
Hey, honey, I got that AIDS loop.
I'm pretty much all about that.
Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around.
Plenty of blame to go around.
Join Dave Cyrus and Marissa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey guys, this is Blamestorming. I'm Marissa Smith. I've got Dave Cyrus with me.
Yeah.
I've got AJ Mattioli with me.
Yep.
And I've got Marcus Kelly with me.
Thrilled to be here.
So Dave.
Yes.
Why are the Republicans lying about the baby internment camps?
Honestly, it's because they kind of don't know what to do next. It's kind of like this is one of those lies where they've kind of backed themselves into a corner, and to admit they were lying to change it at this point is to show weakness, and I think they're just saying we'd rather just be obvious liars than weak. Because I've seen so many people, like on Facebook and like random people, just backing this lie and just repeating it, and you really get the impression it's just because they're stuck and they feel like this is what we have to do, and reality means nothing anymore. Because it's like something we all know you can prove, we all know you can say it's not real, and like people like Sarah Sanders just I really think it's just a panic. I think they are so panicked about the fact that Trump was such a coward about taking responsibility for this decision that they all feel like I feel like a lot of these Republicans are just biding time because they think everything's going to collapse, and they're just trying to just white knuckle the lies through until and hoping that he just fixes everything.
It's so weird to me because now today now did he sign it or did he say that he's going to sign it soon? The last thing I heard was Trump was signing an executive order that was going to keep the families together.
But this is like causing it. He caused it, and now he's fixing it.
Right.
There's this thing all the time where it's like he caused this problem, and then comes to the rescue like this white knight. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're like a white knight on a horse, but you're wearing a KKK uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
This is crazy.
He did sign it. He did sign it, and he is literally trying to say, just like with Korea, look at this horrible thing I stopped. That I created.
It's insane. Right. I don't understand how the people people aren't realizing on
my thing is it's not even the people that aren't realizing it. What gets me is the people that are okay with it. The people the Trump supporters that I've seen on Twitter that have brought me to tears, saying things like a picture of a little boy and holding the fence and with comments like it's a shame that that fence is electrocuted.
That's disgusting.
It's a shame that who let the monkey, and then there was one without a child without a cage, and it said, who let the monkey out of the cage, and for me it's it's fucking relatives of mine that I have to see on Cape Pride. I have a fucking wedding, and there's relatives of mine that are going to be there that, for the most part, it's my Jewish family who are very liberal, but there is people that are going to be there who have said, well, if you break the law, and my thing is, first of all, they're not breaking the law, they're looking for asylum, but regardless of that, I don't give a fuck if they are breaking the law. These are children. Breaking the law and not breaking the law, I don't care.
They're babies.
They're babies, and what? Because of what?
It was also a misdemeanor. First of all, now it's a felony, I believe. No, it's still a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor your first time. If it's your first time crossing the border, it's a misdemeanor. So when these people try to make the argument that it's about breaking the law, they're full of shit because no other misdemeanor loses custody of your kids.
Yeah.
Also, these kids aren't the age of consent. It's not their choice to be going across the border.
No. And I've gotten when someone in the United States breaks the law, their kids get taken away from them, and I'm like, they also get a little thing called a trial. They also get a judge and jury. They don't just get their children taken.
Also, nobody has their kids taken away for peeing on a street corner. I mean, it's
come on.
But there's also prisons that have nursery wings that once they go and they give birth to the child, they are with their infant until the infant stops breastfeeding. Like, there are entire jails that have nursery wings that these kids can be with them up to 18 months.
And what is the long-term goal here? What are we gonna do with all these fucking kids?
Making terrorists. That's the long-term goal.
Yeah.
Because like in 10, 20 years, when these kids start bombing us, I'm not even gonna blame them.
Nope.
This is happening because the Trump administration does want this policy. They want the children taken from these people as a punishment, but they also don't want to be responsible for it. They also want to pretend it's not happening because they want to be cruel. It's just like when Trump made fun of the disabled reporter and was like making the palsy hands.
Right.
They all like that. They all think it's funny, but they also know they can't admit that. So they just pretend it didn't happen and they lie about it not happening.
The legitimate question, though, for me is, okay, so say, like, these kids are all taken away from their parents forever, indefinitely, let's just say. You get, they're shipping the parents back to fucking Mexico, whatever they're doing with them, and then they're keeping the kids, whatever they're doing. In now 2 states has made it illegal for LGBT people to adopt. We already have about 50,000 kids in this country in the foster care system. So you're just adding to that. So like, Republicans are constantly like, well, we shouldn't have to pay for people to eat and welfare because they don't have jobs. How are these people going to get jobs? How are these kids going to grow up and have jobs? So we're just going to put them into the system, complain that they're in the system, bitch about, and then take away their like. When does the cycle end, and how can you not see that cycle?
They're going to be institutionalized for the rest of their life. Like, once they have been put in this system of that they've been kidnapped from their families by our government, then they go into some sort of foster care system if they're lucky. If not, then they're going to be in some sort of group home until they age out. They're not going to have the education. They're not going to have the support. Once they age out, they probably will end up getting arrested for some other offense and then end up back in jail. And they literally will be institutionalized from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
We haven't had orphanages in decades. Like, we have group homes, we have foster families where kids are put temporarily, but we stopped having the concept of an orphanage for orphans a long time ago because we realized how bad it was for these kids.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This is a punishment. This is nothing but a punishment. This is designed to say that the Trump administration has been very clear. Immigrants are the main scapegoat of this administration, and we are going to brutalize them as much as we can and pretend that Barack Obama coddled them, which was the last thing he was really doing. It's one of the worst things that Obama did in his presidency was how many people he deported in terms of like his liberal base. Yeah. That's the saddest thing about it.
I've been saying that too. I've been saying that when people like come back at me like, oh, well, what about what Obama did? I'm like, 2 wrongs don't make a fucking right, dude. Like, that's something I learned in kindergarten. Like, just because, like, Obama had horrible foreign immigration, international foreign policy. Like, horrible.
And they chose to make it much worse. That's the scary
so you just double down on it. You just and great. So, and like when people are like, oh, well, nobody said anything back then. I'm like, actually, if you put in to Google that fun little thing that everyone has access to, look it up.
Oh, it's all fake news, though.
It's all fake
news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Someone told me that they don't believe in Snopes the other day and said, if I get all my information from Google, the world is a very sad place. And I said, Google isn't like a newspaper, right? Like, it's...
Well, Kellyanne Conway fakes news like I fake orgasm. It's like...
Constant.
Yes.
I just don't get it.
She always lies when she's waiting for the guy to finish so that she can go to sleep.
First of all, I'm waiting for this guy to finish. I'm like, how many more days to have this fucking stupid president?
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, my God.
And 7 people have to die before we get someone with a half a brain.
Because,
even
you have Mike...
remotely normal.
Oh, and we have Mike Pence. Oh, Mike Pence.
This is a good question. Who is the oldest person in the Senate right now? It used to be the Hawaiian senator, and he was the oldest one. He was a Democrat, but I think now it's a Republican again. Because after Paul Ryan, doesn't it just become whoever's the oldest senator?
No. I think it goes through the cabinet members, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
The presidential line of succession is through the cabinet members, but in order of when the cabinet was created, when that it's all that like those Death Eaters.
Oh, I think it is the oldest senator first. I think it's the Speaker of the House, then the President, the Senate pro tempore, I think is the oldest one, and then the cabinet.
Oh, okay.
So, but I think that's a
great.
Republican too.
It's still a fucking motley crew. I mean, you have Mike Pence, who, when Trump said build a wall, was like, okay, but can we have, like, someone fun? It's like, can we have Matthew Shepard attached to it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, what's the matter with you? I mean, it's like, this man is religiously asleep with men. It's like, no wonder why. It's like, this is like so crazy we have these people.
It's insanity.
It's insane.
Mike Pence is such a B-movie president too.
Oh, I know. Oh, totally.
He looks like the cheapest president you could get for a bad movie.
or like a TBS like drama.
Yeah.
Like, let's get Mike Pence.
Fucking
He looks
totally.
like he's in a rap video, and he's the guy who came back to his mansion too early.
Yes.
I don't
He
know.
also looks like he rides Dick's side saddle, but we'll talk.
Oh, yeah.
Allegedly.
Like,
Yeah, he
Mike Pence looks like the Walmart version of Opus Dei. Like, he's just like, he looks like he really wants to, like, self-flagellate, but, like, he just couldn't get the right whip.
But
like,
you know it's sad when you're like the Barney Rubble to Trump's Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
Like, that's ugh.
And the funny thing, he's such a lapdog in a way that we didn't even expect. Like he worships Trump. You saw the way he was mirroring his
it's
stuff. Like he was
weird.
He was
clap
filleting
just
him.
like him.
Filleting
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's,
I think,
oh.
and the point that someone made that was really interesting was that Mike Pence had a very physically abusive father.
Because
and
they tried to beat
Pence
the
is-
gay out of him.
Yeah, and that
Because if
Pence's
you can't
brother
pray the
said
gay
when
away,
Trump-
you beat the gay away.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
Pence-
this is also, but that's like his philosophy. This is a man who thinks conversion is right and takes money away from HIV and education, leave that in his state, and puts it towards that.
I mean, we just need to find whatever Filipino twink does pony play with him.
I will give you
fucking-
names. I'll give
like-
you names. If he
like,
needs
get the
suggestions,
pictures.
I have
Like,
names.
It's crazy. It's like somebody just needs to end this already.
But I don't understand when they say things like, there's a conscience in the Republican Party. I don't understand. I think it's great that we've heard so much from. There has been certain congressmen and senators and like that have been very outspoken about this, and obviously, I thought what Laura Bush said was great. But I'm so surprised that you see that we haven't seen much more of an outrage about this.
And the
This
It's
fact that-
basically just Lindsey Graham, who most people think is closeted gay, and that kind of explains why he's a little worried about where things are going.
Yeah.
They're still frightened, but like the thing is that how long do they think that they can maintain this?
I don't know, because it feels like it's a sinking ship. And every week I have this comedian that I work with, and every week I'm like, oh, this is it, they'll get it. This is it, they'll get it. It never happens.
Never happens.
I've
Yeah.
been saying this for 6 months. I'm like, it must be this. It's Stormy Daniels, and it's this, and it's the Russians, and I don't know.
They
Like,
don't
it's
care.
so
no
crazy.
end. There's no end.
They really don't. They really don't care. This base will not leave him, because I think to leave him is admitting that they were wrong the whole time. And these are white macho men that that can't admit failure.
Yeah, and
We have a serious problem. Sorry, go on.
I wish
Oh,
it was
yeah,
only
man, yeah.
I wish it was only macho men. The fact of the matter is, what was it? 54% of white women voted for Trump. That's
Fuck those
insanity.
heifers.
But that's gone down astronomically.
Astronomically, yeah. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
then
It's
you
the
have-
I
white
don't
men.
know.
It's the
I
men.
don't
Yeah.
know.
It's us.
Honestly,
in Middle Earth,
I'm
you're
not
from New York.
giving.
We all voted for her.
I'm not giving them a pass either, because when you heard that he's grabbing women by the pussy, and your response is, well, her emails though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
Well,
you.
you know-
Well, like locker room
exactly.
talk.
It's
Is
so
that
full
how
of
you're
shit.
like locker room talk is okay when you're 17? If
And then these same
First of all,
bitches.
that's not even. I don't even know what locker room talk is. Like, you just invented this. Like, I don't-
But this
Right.
is the thing that enrages me. These same bitches are me tooing right now. It's just like,
Oh, left, right,
you
and
know,
center.
it's like, all right, so 98% of the women me tooing right now are white women, and 53% of white women voted for Trump. So I can at least say probably 30% of the Me Tooers voted for Trump.
Yeah.
So he can grab someone else by the pussy, but this dude can't to give you a role in a movie? Go fuck
Yeah.
yourself.
and then
Yeah.
Samantha Bee can't say cunt on TV.
yeah, it's so.
It was
insane.
feckless that they were upset about.
And AJ brought this up earlier, something that I think is, I think we can all agree that obviously there's more work to do, especially in the trans side of it, but that
Tape on
LGBT
math
rights
workers.
overall have gotten a lot better over the last decade. There has been a big uptick in inclusiveness. The culture war is going the right direction, but the downside of that is these fucking twinks for Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly, they don't feel oppressed enough to identify with other oppressed people.
And
Well, if you'd like to
mean,
send them my way,
I think,
that's my bailiwick.
and I think people.
Someone needs to fuck some
you
sense
know,
into them.
I think people forget that, like, yeah, we might have seen an upswing in equality, but like, people are like, oh, well, gay marriage happened. I'm like, oh, well, I could still get fired in 37 states.
People don't
because
talk
I'm
about that.
trans. Like, that's it. I don't give a fuck about, for me, I don't give a fuck about marriage. Listen, I ain't gonna get married. It's not gonna happen. Like,
I've had so few offers.
I've had so few offers. What am I gonna do? I think it's great that we have it. I think equality is great, but like for me, that to me is just like, it's irrelevant when I can still get fired in 37 states. It's irrelevant when we're considering having the basis of being able to spend a life with someone and sharing their insurance, when that is I'm like, okay, but like we go to 37 states and we're both fucked.
And I think too, along that same point, I think it's important to say that I think this administration and sort of the tonality of it, I think has definitely, it's breeding this culture of intolerance that I did not feel 2 years ago. I think that he's really given people such a license for hate and things like that. Yeah. And I'm not talking about these like these things that obviously the repugnant remarks and things like that. It's sort of like the whole thing with him not really condemning white supremacists, but saying he kind of did. And this sort of like I think people are so
people
empowered.
wrong on both sides.
Yeah, well, I think people are very, very emboldened by this. And even like in New York, I mean, I ride the train in drag. I walk around. I work in Herald Square in drag during the daytime on Sundays. It's amazing, and I've been doing that for 5 years in the summer. It's amazing to see the shift. Not even just in tourists, but I feel like New Yorker or there's a certain. Yeah. It's a national thing, and it's very, very second. I think it's so the opposite of where I thought we were going.
The only thing that I found positive in this entire Trump debacle is that.
Was that an AIDS joke or?
No,
not yet.
Not yet. Give me a moment.
Okay.
But like, he
does raw dog porn star, so let's not assume it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, let's just hope he does not have the Magic Johnson of age. But like, let's hope that he's got like.
We know he's into lemonade. So.
But like, the people that are anti-Trump, I feel like we've kind of like bonded and connected more than I felt like I was bonded and connected with pro-Obama people. Because, you know what I mean? It's like right now, like I'm finding more inclusiveness in groups of people that are just anti-Trump that I did not find before. And if I can say that there's any silver lining in any of this, I feel like I'm finding a group of people that I'm reaching out to more, that I'm more trusting of than I did before, just because I feel like we're at least the ones that see the truth.
I think this election made it very much an us or them kind of thing, whereas Obama was like raising a lot of us up, and it was okay to not fight for everybody because you didn't feel like you had to fight for. Whereas I feel like every day I'm like, hashtag today I'm Muslim, hashtag today I'm black, hashtag today I'm Korean, hashtag, it's like it's a constant every day, every freaking
and then
day.
I
think that's what's different now is that instead
like
of rising us
hashtag
up,
the other silver trans Muslim woman.
That's the thing. We're seeing these people run for office, and we need to support them.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. I think people are really not. There's been like a call to arms that queer people and people of color, minorities, and things like that are really being like, this can't happen again. I think that we're going to even see the white women that did vote for Trump are sort of their eyes are open to the fact that this is ridiculous. This is insane.
He's not just threatening our lives; he's threatening our future.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always wanted children, and then when Trump got elected, I was like, I'm happy I don't have kids. And as the days go on, and we get him saying he doesn't believe in climate change, and he doesn't believe in this, and he doesn't believe in that, and opting out of, all these agreements, I literally am like, thank God I didn't have kids. Like, thank God. And that's such a weird thing for me to say when I'm going from someone that used to want to have 5 kids to now being like, I would adopt somebody because they're already stuck on this fucking shithole of a planet.
I mean, I regret having so many myself.
I think Trump is literally the reason we don't see It Gets Better commercials anymore.
It doesn't. I'm about to commit gay teen suicide retroactively, sitting right here. I mean,
You can't argue It Gets Better when the president is the biggest bully in world history.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't.
It's not getting better.
And we can only fit so many queers in Bushwick. I mean, there's only so much room in that safe haven.
Send them to my area. You said you said the Middle East is the problem. I live in East Midwood in Brooklyn, and we could use more gay people there. The food is terrible.
I'm like, I don't even need a safe space anymore. I need a panic room.
Yeah,
but,
It's like, where's Jodie Foster in a pinch? I'm like, oh my god.
It's crazy. It is getting insane.
Yeah, but like, really, where is she? Like, she needs another fan that wants to make a splash. I'm just saying.
All right, settle down before we get sued.
Allegedly. It's like my safe word in bed. Allegedly. Yeah.
Allegedly, I don't like that. But like, now this, like, kind of going back to like what you were saying about the, I guess there within the LGBT community, there's some inclusiveness, there's some exclusiveness, but I'll say that like for the years that like I've like gone to parties or clubs or bars or whatever, even like last night I did a gig at a gay bar on the Upper East Side, and the thing that's always been very strange to me is the lack of racial inclusiveness within the LGBT community.
Yeah.
And like I feel like straight people are fucked up in a massive variety of ways. I'm sorry, but we're assholes. But like, I also feel like it's very strange that like every time like I'll have like cisgendered black male friends that invite me to like a club or a bar, and I'll have like cisgendered white gay friends that invite me to a bar, and every single time I'm like, this is so segregated compared to like a straight bar. Like, depending upon, like, I'm not saying like you know, like there's some, like if you're going to like a really expensive like whatever, it might be more segregated. But if you were just going to like a regular run-of-the-mill like average price point bar, I feel like it's not 50-50, but you don't feel so isolated.
I would say I think that's probably because in Manhattan specifically, we have so many theme nights and so many like Broadway Mondays is going to cater to a more white community. And then
I always thought it was strange when people said there was a Latin night. I was like, what is it? Is just the music that's Latin? But no, it's not.
It's usually,
which I always thought was very strange. Like when I first came to New York, I didn't understand that, and I still really don't.
I think because it's such a huge LGBT community in Manhattan specifically, you don't even see really that many women at gay bars. Like, I prefer to go to gay bars because I'm not really cruising anymore, and I just want to have a good time, and I hang out with mostly gay men. But like, you know, whereas I feel like there's 42 gay bars in Hell's Kitchen alone, so like you have enough to, sadly, not purposely segregate, but have a Latin night, have a, you know, a Broadway singing night, have a piano bar night, you know, have a sport night, you know, where in Brooklyn I feel like because there's less bars, I feel like in Bushwick specifically and Williamsburg specifically,
which is where they are. There aren't that many.
That's it. Yeah, outside of that, you know, and even with that, there's like 12 maybe in those two neighborhoods. So like, I would say there's really not segregation at those bars. I feel like both women and people of color kind of make up. You know,
well, I think the neighborhood in itself is more progressive, and that's why, or just at least it's younger.
Yeah,
it's a younger crowd. I think that you see the same thing in Manhattan, but it's sort of overtaken by the fact that people, for instance, that live in Hell's Kitchen, you have to have a little bit of money.
You have to have a lot of money.
There's people that are somewhat a little bit older or very like upper middle class white gay men, and it's, you know, I think that the neighborhood lends itself to the idea that it's going to be younger, it's going to be more inclusive because people are living there, artists, and subsequently more progressive.
And listen, me and Mark are definitely not going to sit here and lie to you and say that like we haven't met people who on their grinder have no fats, no blacks, no femmes. I mean, like that's. Like,
I never had a grinder, so I don't.
Okay, well, I haven't either, but you know.
Okay. No, really, I haven't. I honestly. But I had Adam Fredebeck.
Neither have I.
Said my club.
But that is something I've heard a lot. You know, like where it's on those apps where. You have what you're looking for, and you're looking for someone that's 5 feet away from you. There's definitely racism in there, and I will say, like, I can't imagine that the population in Twinks for Trump,
fares very well.
Yeah, I can't imagine that there's many people of color in that. So I'm sure there's one or two very odd birds of people of color that are Twink for Trump.
Because I feel like, to be honest with you, like granted, like, I'm a cisgender hetero, but like I've been in or around the scene for a while. Yeah. So like back in the day, like I'm like 96, 97, I felt like the curfew parties were just like a lot more inclusive.
I mean, there wasn't that many. There wasn't that many
bars or clubs or whatever, but like
now,
like Twilo and Limelight, like even though they had their own nights, like like there would be like a drag night at Limelight or whatever, but that drag night would be more inclusive than if I go to a drag night now. That I'm just like,
I think there's just a sheer amount of I think companies know that we can make money off of the gay community.
I think bars are something very, very different than you're talking about, like a night, like a night, like the things that like, for instance, like Lady Fag does and Suzanne Barge do, are inclusive by intent.
Yeah.
Because they've taken a space that ostensibly is not necessarily a queer space. They've taken it over and made it into this thing that's exclusive. Like Friday, it's going to be amazing. We're doing Ladyland, which is going to be a queer music festival outside of the Brooklyn Mirage.
Freaking amazing.
Which I'm so excited about. I'll be doing the door for that, which is just, I think that I think that gay bars is something different. We think about gay bars as like your neighborhood joint, whereas if you're looking for something performative and provocative and an experience, you're going to clubs for that. And I will say, I think that everyone really now, I can't think of any pointer that I work for, of course, but like that isn't doing things that are entirely inclusive and are doing great. They're really curating a sense of art, in Brooklyn and Manhattan and things like that. And there's a reverence for performers and creativity and the entire spectrum of gender identities and sexual orientations and every race, color, and creed. People always say, oh well, this and that at the door. Are you racist? I said no. I said I let people in that are green.
Yeah,
so like there's
Yeah.
So I think that's some really cool stuff to look out for Pride this weekend.
Yeah.
There is something to be. Yeah, there is a danger where we see certain groups maybe get more traction faster. You really want to make sure that that different persecuted groups don't forget that they're on the same team. You don't want to because otherwise you could end up at someday some like redneck, well not redneck, but some dad being like, son, I don't care if you're gay, but he better be white.
Yeah.
That would be really weird.
I think it's a sign
my family, I've run on a black girl in college, and not my parents, because my parents are very, very liberal and can give a shit, but their friends said, oh, that's cool, we didn't know she was going to be black. And I was like,
wow.
Like, you don't give, at that point I was a lesbian, I identified as a lesbian, I was like, so you don't give a shit that I'm with a woman, but... and my relatives, my Uncle Johnny and Uncle Frankie, they were roommates for my entire life. And, they sat there one day and talked about how their nephew was dating a black girl and how it was, disrespectful to the family. And my father just turned around, I must have been 13, my father just turned around and goes, everyone knows you're fucking Johnny, stop with this bullshit.
No, I'm like...
Oh, good for him, that's nice.
I was like, how are you gonna, how are you... it's always how can you put a foot on someone else's neck?
Yeah, because I've had similar situations. Because in my family, when I was in high school and college, I was dating white guys, and my family was just kind of oh, you're dating white guys, blah blah blah. But it wasn't until my cousin kissed her girlfriend at Christmas dinner, and they're like, well, at least he has a dick. It's he's white, but. He's got a penis. We can bypass this. And then my dad was always super don't bring this home, don't bring that home, anti-Semitic or whatever. And I was dating a Jewish guy in college, and he was giving me all this shit for it. and then left my mom for a Jewish woman. So like,
So-
you know what I
that
mean?
tribe.
Like,
Yeah, it's
but
ridiculous.
it's just like everybody wants to have a say on who you can and cannot love, but they don't want you to have any sort of say on who they can and cannot love.
Well, what does Chris Rock say? Like, there's no reason to hate on anybody because when you do, they will wind up in your family.
Yeah, it's like whoever you hate the most will end up in your family.
Yeah, like don't it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it really, to me, it doesn't really make sense that, even if you are someone who doesn't want to date overweight or femme or black guys, you can just not respond to them. You don't have to tell all the other men that you are that much of a dick.
Yeah, like how is that?
It just
how is
seems
that getting
counterproductive.
I say it all the time, like, you want to hate my ass, hate my trans ass in the privacy of your own fucking house. Like,
Right.
don't need to come out, like, what, like, I don't like your little mouthy ass kids running all over the place making noise, but I'm not gonna say shit, like,
Oh, I do.
like,
I just huff and puff
depends
like,
on how
oh,
expensive the restaurant
Really?
is.
too.
it's
That
like
reminds
you
me of my
know that
favorite
the
King of
Bloody
the Hill
Marys
joke.
in here is $16, right?
Just spoil little funk out of here.
What was that, Dave?
My favorite King of the Hill joke ever was Bill Dauterive saying to Hank, he goes, "Hank, what you do with your wife in the privacy of your home is disgusting, and you should be ashamed."
So, Dave, did you hear about Corey Lewandowski talking about the child with Down syndromes?
Actually, I didn't. I just saw the headline, but that doesn't sound like the Corey Lewandowski I know. I mean, I know that he assaulted that woman and dragged her to the ground, and that didn't he smack some up? Did he get like multiple accusations? Okay, so yeah, maybe this is Corey.
Yeah, that's the exact same Corey. I also think that didn't he like allegedly like abuse his wife?
Yeah, he was accused of spousal abuse or domestic violence, and we saw the bruises on that reporter's arm when he didn't like a question she asked, and he snatched her down. Yeah, he's a violent piece of shit.
No, who
Yeah.
is this?
And
Corey Lewandowski.
Who the fuck
he
is
was at
Corey
one
Lewandowski?
point Trump's campaign manager.
Oh, okay.
And then he was
They
dating
they
Hope
last for,
Hicks
like-
for a while.
Okay. They only last for like a week, so it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, it's hard.
But they're all the same person. They're all that toxic bully asshole. Like Stephen Miller is the reason they're separating these kids. Just as a quick thing,
Oh,
Stephen
he's the
Miller,
worst.
the architect of taking the kids away, there's video of him from college talking about these lazy custodians who aren't picking up our garbage well enough.
Yeah, he's
It's like, why are they telling me to throw my garbage in the garbage can when they're getting paid to throw out my garbage?
fucking disgusting? Who even thinks like that? Like, who even I don't.
But like, you know something?
My mother would beat the shit out of me if I even thought
That's
that.
what- like
if I
I'm saying,
even thought it.
it's like-
It's an
Where are
amazing
the
thing for someone to say out loud.
Like, where are the parents in the situation where they're just like, you know something? Sorry, world, we fucked up.
Well, I heard that his parents are like ultra liberal, which is really crazy. And I think that's what always boggles my mind when these rich kids are such pieces of shit, because I'm like, most of them have nannies, and most of the nannies are Jamaican in New York at least. So I'm like, how are these rich kids becoming such assholes when are they just trained to look at these Jamaican nannies as the help? Like, because if they're the ones that are raising these kids, because the parents are never around,
They're like a
busy spending
maternal
money.
figure.
So it's like, are they just so trained from so young to look at these people that are raising them as the help, and like to just?
Well, I mean, how many men love their mothers but have committed violence?
Yeah, that's
against
fair.
women?
That's fair. I'm like, I don't know. I think that I don't know. My mother, I have such fear of her. I'm like, even if I even remotely try to disrespect a woman, I get scared she's gonna find out. So, like, I'm not doing that. She'll beat my ass.
It's like, this is not the man I raised.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and I think that even like you think about the not all men movement. Like, I post shit about cisgender straight men all the time, white straight men, and the people that never question me about it are my dad and my brother-in-law, who are not pieces of shit. And I'm like,
Right.
they don't have to come onto my post and say, well, actually, AJ, remember that I raised you? Or like, no, Dad, I know you're a great man, and that's why you know that I'm not talking about you when I say that.
Right.
You know, it's an insane moment of history right now. We are going to be looked at just as a joke, as a laughing stock. I don't get
It's
it.
really true. Hey, Marissa, what can you just back up? What was the? Do you know? Is there a quote of what exactly he said about this Down syndrome afflicted child?
So, Corey Lewandowski was on Fox News, of course, and he was a guest. Like, I think that he was like one of 3 guests on a segment, and the liberal guest was saying that there was reports that a 10-year-old with Down syndrome was taken from their mother at the border.
I wasn't even thinking about disabled kids. That didn't even enter my freaking mind until you just said that. Oh my god.
And so that that the mother was saying, please, my child is disabled, like I please keep me with my child. And the liberal pundit was saying that they went and they took this Down syndrome child from the mother, and the mother's pleading and the child is crying, and Corey Lewandowski goes womp womp.
I don't even understand. Like, they have no freaking hearts.
None.
They got
They also have
heart.
no sense of humor. They are
Well, yeah.
incapable of crafting jokes.
Yeah.
Like,
Like that's to them is like a punchline.
Yeah, that's the punchline.
yeah,
He thinks it's funny.
it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go and steal a Down syndrome child from their mother. Womp womp, like that.
What he really means is, oh, it's bad enough we have to have Mexicans in the country. Now we need disabled ones.
Yeah.
Like
It's ridiculous. It's there's no speaking there's no speaking to these people anymore. There's gonna be there already is, in my opinion, at least a social media civil war going on. It's a civil war that's happening without being called that. I think it's a
We need
war that's occurring. That, you know, the fact that I've cut off family members, the fact that so many people are just willing to say, you know, fuck you on both sides. I think we're in a civil war that we're just not calling it that yet.
I mean, I started cutting friends off, I'd say, during like the whole like Zimmerman Trayvon Martin thing. And
Mine was the Oscar so white. That's when I
no, yeah.
started cutting off
As soon as the Trayvon thing happened, I immediately unfriended George. Sorry.
we needed it.
But I can proudly say though that no one I really considered a friend voted for Trump. It was all like the comics who I didn't really like already.
Yeah, that shit is rampant in your community.
Like by the time it happened, I had unfriended him, but like one of my very best friends went to his inauguration.
Jesus.
Like, you know, he's a corrections officer. He's married to a Chinese woman. He's white. Like, but they called their child Havsy.
Oh
Yeah,
my
of course.
God.
And so, like, literally, like, I got invited, like, to, like, come to the hospital after she gave birth. And they're like, isn't Havsy so cute? And I'm like, wait, what did you say? They're like, Havsy. I'm like, I think I know what you mean, but what do you mean?
But like, clarify this, because I'm hoping I'm being the racist right now by thinking that's what you mean.
And they're like, Havsy, you know, and then they're literally like, because he's half white and half chink. And I'm like,
oh my God.
And I'm like, you're calling your 8-hour-old baby
Oh my
a
God.
racial slur right now.
And like, I want to punch the mom just for allowing this to happen.
And they're like,
All the
oh,
pregnancy
he
bags.
doesn't know what we're saying. And then it's
Can I make a prediction? Can I make
Yes.
a prediction right now? That kid being raised in that
Incel
family
shooter?
is going to have a neck beard in 12 years.
No, he's gonna Menendez the shit out of these parents. Is what's gonna happen.
I think that he's just going to be an incel shooter. That's
No,
my prediction.
that's how you raise an incel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically incel 101.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
But like, and so like I had a problem with that, and I was just kind of like I'd
No,
already
a problem?
started
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I had started kind of, and I had already known him for like almost 20 years at that point. but like I started kind of like rolling it back, and then he started posting about Trayvon Martin, and I was just like, you know something, like you share a moral core with your friends. And your friends are not people that are just there for like good times, but like you have to have some sort of sense of spiritual ideology connection with your friends. And I'm not my brother's keeper, but I it's birds that flock together.
Of course.
And so like at that point I was just like, I can in good conscience sit down and break bread with somebody that says these things, that does these things, and I just literally cut ties. And then I like later found out that like he went to the inauguration and she went to the inauguration, and I'm just saying to myself, like, when I looked at this little baby, this cute little baby, and I'm listening to them call this little baby Havsy, and I didn't say anything.
And just giving your friends permission to call your child it. Like, that's what, like, if, you know, it comes from the top, like, you're just literally saying, like, I will excuse anyone that calls my child a racial slur. Like, I won't get that offended. It won't upset me too much. I will laugh at it.
Because you're calling your own kid that. And so, it was just like, I can't be around this.
And, I read something the other day. It was like, it was a meme that said in Germany we say if there's one Nazi sitting down, and if there's 10 Nazis sitting down and one...
If there's 10 people sitting down with a Nazi, that's 11 Nazis.
That's 11 Nazis. That's it. Exactly. That's what it was. And it's like, if you're sitting with... right now, for me, in 2018, if you're not screaming in the face of oppression, then you're standing next to it and you're walking with it. And right now, we have to choose a side, and... because when you don't choose a side, you stand with it. Not choosing a side has never helped the oppressed. It's only helped the oppressor.
Right.
And I think
and
it's
that's
crazy.
why I hope I go to the gay camps, because we're going to have the most fun.
It's going to be amazing.
There's going to be show tunes and fashion.
I'm like,
all the straight girls are going to start going to them.
I feel like it's safe there.
Every bachelorette party's going to want to go there.
Let's go to that fun concentration camp, Becky.
I want to be invited before the Beckys got there.
Done.
It's just like, no, you can't come in here, you Trump voter. Now that's a Handmaid's Tale. Now you think you're cool. It's like, no, bitch, you should not have voted then. So now, Dave.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Space Force?
I think it's about time that a real president started looking to where our enemies really are, in space. And, by the way, he wants it to be called... he's going to want his name on it. He's doing this because he thinks that someday they'll need it, and that they'll look back and have, like, Trump's face on the Star Trek ships. Which, by the way, Star Trek is the last thing he should be comparing anything to, because Star Trek is communism with no income, everyone's equal, there's universal income. So, but yeah, I think the Space Force thing, we're just seeing what happens when a confused old man is president and no one is there to tell him when he shouldn't say something. He is just obsessed
what was
with
the point of this
everything
Space
you would have done as president when you were 9.
Yeah.
So Space Force.
Yeah, what is the...
Is so that...
Separate but equal. Separate but equal.
It is. So Space Force is supposed to be a new branch of the military. Mm-hmm. It is separate but equal from the Air Force. It shall have the same powers and capabilities of the Air Force. And it is to ensure space dominance for America and Americans, and it is supposed to protect us from possible space foes.
No,
I would give literally anything. I would give anything to watch him in a room full of scientists explain to them what he wants the Space Force to do.
Yeah.
So there's like aliens out there, right? So I want you to like round them up and put them in camps, and then I want all the baby aliens in tender shelter camps, and then I want to take all the girl aliens from ages 8 to 16, and I'm going to put them in my garage.
Now these aliens, are there like white versions of them? Can we keep those separate? I want to keep track.
Well, Donald, there's some that are blue. There's some that have no faces. There's some that will just talk to you through your mind, but you can't see them.
I want this all to be based on my favorite space movie ever, The War Beyond the Stars. That's a real movie. That was a real Star Wars ripoff I just saw. No, I'm literally picturing him like with the notebook full of doodles of what he wants the spaceships to look like. I'm there, and they all look, and he doesn't realize they all look like different kinds of penises.
Yes. Yeah.
I just imagine that like Stephen Miller was talking to him, and Stephen Miller's like, you know, Mr. President, I just got off the phone with NASA, and they said that there's a possibility that we could be invaded by space illegal aliens. And he's just like, we can't let this happen. We need the ice for space. And he's just like, oh, we're going to have Space Force. And then for a split second, he thinks about all the space babies that he can take away from the space alien mothers. And he gets this chub, and he's like, we're going to build a Skynet to keep the space aliens away from the American sky borders, because we need those borders for the airplanes, because
when Andromeda sends their people, they're not sending their best. They're sending probes. They're sending crime, and some, I assume, are silicone-based gaseous people. But we've had enough. We have to stop them.
Make American farts great again.
They're coming. These aliens are coming to this planet. They want to get your white women. They want to get them pregnant and then leave. They're trying to sell their drugs. They're going to take all the whites.
They're going to have these half species, half alien, half white women babies. We can't have that. We must have zero tolerance at our sky borders.
But we can call them
My
all
daddy
happy.
always said.
Yeah.
My daddy always said you can't trust a man what's made of gas.
'Cause you are what you eat.
Now we have made a treaty with one of the aliens, the more brutal regime, but it's gonna work out. Don't worry. We need to do this so they don't kill us.
Yeah, they stand when I talk. They stand, so at attention.
They know how to respect a leader.
God damn it, I hate him. I hate him so much.
But, like, I don't understand, like, who let him have this press conference? Like, I mean, there's got to be at least one person in his administration that heard him saying, I'm going to give a speech about Space Force. And it's like, you know something, sir? Maybe, just maybe, we should talk about that next week.
Yeah, you know who would have talked? You know who would have said that? Rex Tillerson. Reince Priebus. Everyone he's fired because one by one he keeps firing people for trying to talk reason to him. That's why he hired Rudy fucking Giuliani. He was like, just give me one goddamn person who will never say the words, stop acting crazy.
Like, the thing that's so weird about that, too, with Giuliani, though, is that, like, Giuliani has not said anything about our government kidnapping children, but he will talk about Stormy Daniels, he'll talk about Michael Cohen, he'll talk about Manafort, but he can't talk about the children But because he's just like, well, I'm not in charge of that. Well, you're not in charge of the Stormy Daniels things either, Rudy. Like, why don't you get new fake teeth?
If you notice, every time Rudy realizes he's on TV, his eyes bulge. I don't know if you watched him talk lately. His eyes are constantly bulging.
I think that's because, like he suddenly realizes that everyone has a digital TV and that he understands that his teeth look like wood at that point.
See, I just thought that he was so full of shit that it was pushing his eyeballs out.
I mean...
Like, that's what I thought. That.
He's not well.
Yeah, hopefully it's a debilitating, thyroid condition. That's
something that
fingers crossed.
I normally don't make fun of drag queens, but Rudy Giuliani is someone I really don't like.
Yeah.
I know we've all seen.
Punch up, Dave. Punch up.
For a guy who lights up with Trump, the guy's been on film in a dress way too many times.
Yeah, it's
well. They
bizarre.
were wasn't he trying? There's a film of
him and Trump.
And
Trump
in a dress. Yeah, and he's just like, oh, Donald, I thought you were a gentleman.
Yeah, even
why?
In that, Trump is being a pervert.
Yeah,
because to some people, even in the 2000s, there is nothing on earth more hilarious than a man in a dress.
It really is ridiculous. I love that in actually the throwback in the show MASH, that actor stopped doing it after 2 seasons because he was like, okay, if people are still laughing at this, we need smarter audience members.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's the
also,
same joke.
You're not getting out of the war. Give it
up,
it's clearly
man.
not working.
Right.
After the second episode, I'm like, he just wants to wear a dress.
He just wants to wear a
This
dress.
guy clearly...
What do you even get them? They're always dry, cleaned, and nice.
Yeah.
Exactly. They were beautiful. He was really put together.
Yeah, really.
So, we do need to start wrapping this up. But before we go, just where can everyone see you next? What projects do you have in the works? Where can people follow you on social media? I will start with you, AJ.
Okay. Right now, Marissa, the most important thing that I'm going to be pushing for a while is my documentary called Words that Marissa Smith is in.
I am in that. Where can you find Words?
You could find it right on Amazon. The DVDs just came out, and you could also watch that. It is included in Prime, and you can watch it on Instant. So there you go.
And where can people follow you on social media, and what do you have coming up next?
You could follow me at Words the Film, and that's on all social media platforms, Words the Film. And the next thing I'm working on is a documentary series called My First Time, which will talk about the first time people were... the first time the gay community was harassed or bashed, and I'm going to be talking to people of color about the first time they were called the N-word, and then it's going to...
Third grade.
Awesome, right? Fucking A, man. That's disgusting. So, we'll be discussing the first time that those kind of things, along with the happier things in their life, has occurred, and it's kind of a play on words. For my first time, people always associate it with sex, and for a lot of people of color and people in the LGBTQ plus community, it means something completely different.
All right. Yeah. Dave Cyrus.
I'll be at Radio City Music Hall opening for My Leonopolis. Definitely want to check that out. Date's coming out soon. I think we have a special guest. Ted Nugent's going to open the song. I'm also going to be at Broadway Comedy Club, I guess, July 13th. And some other stuff that you should check my Twitter for. And, Google my name, because I just had a new roast battle come out. Dave Cyrus.
You can follow this show...
With an S.
Dave Cyrus with an S, not virus with a V. I gotcha. So you can follow this show on Twitter at The Blamestorm. You can follow me on Twitter at Marissa Smith. I will also be at Broadway Comedy Club on July 13th, but you can also catch me at Otto Shrunken Head on July the 7th for Merriment and Mortification. And this Sunday, I don't think that we're going to be released yet, but you can catch me at the Shrine in Harlem for a Sunday brunch show. And also check out my other podcast, Big Talk and Brewskis. If you enjoyed this show, if you enjoyed us, please follow us on social media, subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us and review us, and have a good night.
Did Marcus leave?
Yeah, Marcus left.
Okay.
All
This
right.
is something I said.